3. Okay, we want to welcome everybody today to Mom and Dad Talks, where our favorite subject is Mom and Dad. And today we have special guests. We have the Gonzaleses there from Niles, Michigan, I think. And then we have Mrs. Thomas, one of our favorite people here. You may not know her, but let me just explain a little bit. You've probably heard of her son, who's the #1 speaker in the world, Eric Thomas. They call him the hip hop preacher. You see him on YouTube all over the place. He's the voice for the NBA. He speaks for the NFL. He's a well-known speaker around the world. And Mrs. Thomas, we are so glad. And let me tell you, Mrs. Thomas is a fan of Mom and Dad Talk, so I had to bring her on here. And
yes, I am. Love it.
and I mean, she is a lovely person. When I met her, she's just a sweetheart. I just love her dearly. So, we're going to talk about some things. Let me show you something here real quick, everybody. So basically, in essence, before we begin here, I want you to see the secret behind the secret to success. She has a fabulous book. And let me tell you, folks, I'm going to just tell you right now, it's a great read. And if you are struggling with things in your life, you need to have this book. I'm telling you right now, it's great. It will tell you how to overcome. She gives some pointers out. I mean, she is dropping dimes, quarters, nickels, and dollar bills, folks. So I'm going to tell you, get that book. It's great. If you can see it right here, it's, maybe I did it wrong. Secrets to Success here. Okay, this disappearing there. All right. But anyway, our question for today, folks, is this. How do you know when your child needs help? And Mrs. Thomas, when you've gone through a whole lot, how do you know when your children, because you have more than one, needs help? How do you know? And what do you do about it? Just tell me.
Well, sometimes as parents, we do what we think is best for our children. We try to shelter them from some of the hardships of life. But we're really not doing the right thing in many cases. So we have to own up that we didn't make the best choices sometimes, because it's not our love for our kids. We got to prepare them for the greater world. So we have to come clean on our own parenting style, if you will, sometime, and say, it's not right for this situation. My son was adopted, but he didn't know it. And we tried to shelter him from that hardship that he had come from, but we were wrong. And we saw him asking for help, but we just couldn't understand where it was coming from because we didn't know that the secret had been exposed. But once he acted out so much, we knew we couldn't. We tried everything we could to help him, and we couldn't. So we sought outside help, if you will, because the family will say, well, you were great parents. And it really wasn't. It's not about us being great parents. Sometimes we simply don't have the skill sets that's required to help our sons and daughters through problems that they have. So it's a matter of you accepting the fact that it's not that you're a bad parent or you're not able to see your kid through it. Sometimes you're so involved with it emotionally that you just can't help them right then and there. And you have to stand down. And you have to go to those people that are impartial but yet empathetic and can be that bridge between you and that child. And it doesn't have to be anything as drastic as what happened between me and my son, but just kids have different love language even. Sometimes parents just don't get it. And you can really screw things up. And so we have to be open that just because we love them, there's no book on parenting. And that asking your people who love the child sometimes is not good because everybody has a bias.
Right.
Everybody's got a bias. And so you have to find that objective help. And when you see your child is hurting and you choose to ignore it because you just don't want to face it, it only gets worse.
Ooh, yes. I mean, well spoken, Mrs. Thomas. I mean, I that is so great. So Mom and Dad, did you get your situation straightened out yet?
No, we'll just go through it.
Okay. So so the question is, how do you know when your child needs help? We're gonna start with you, and then we'll get the Gonzales to ask their question. How do you know?
How do I know?
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Todd? You never went to kindergarten. I never put you in kindergarten. I'm going to tell this little story about you. We sent you to first grade right off the bat, but before you went to first grade, everything was all about play. You know, you love to do stand on your head and do a lot of acrobats and what have you. You know, and so when you got to first grade in the school, your first grade teacher was noticing something about you. She says, "Oh, he just likes to play all the time." She says, "Because every time he comes into my classroom," she says, "he wants to go over there and stand on his head." And so he thinks that school was all about play, standing on your head. Well, I got some serious thought, and I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I put him in school a little bit too soon. Maybe I should start him instead of 7, start him at 8 years old. But I didn't take you out that first semester, but I was tempted to. But I said, if he's gonna stand on his head, he thinks school is this room is for play, starting school, I might as well put him in a circus where he can make some money for the
family. True story, everybody.
And it is a true story. So that first semester, this is what you played. It was all about play for you, Todd. But then come January, after Christmas vacation, you went back into the classroom and you had settled down and you started finding out, oh, I'm in school to learn how to read and do all the other things. So you find that you caught on after Christmas of that first year of grade school. So I'm just glad that I had the presence of mind to not be so quick to yank you out, but to give you a little chance to see if you were going to do or not going to do, and you did. So that's how I know from my experience with how do you know.
What about you, Dad? How do you know when, because you're a teacher, how do you know when a child needs help? Give us some help here.
You have to know your child first. And once you know your child, you can kind of detect the signs that your child needs help. For instance, Todd didn't want to. I remember one time when Todd was first learning how to ride a bicycle. Okay, and Carlin and the other kids, they're riding their bicycles, and we went over to Clarence and Thelma's house, and the bicycles were in the van.
Yeah.
And Todd did not want to ride his bicycle. And that was irritating me because I wanted him to ride his bicycle. And that's when the first time I realized that Todd had a mind of his own. And a mind of your own can be good in a way and it can be bad in a way. So I had to make a spot decision to force him to follow my will. So that's when he says that I turned my head so fast that the afro stayed in one place. Spanking. So you know is in trouble when he kind of defies you. And you have to realize, and you have to establish your presence as the father.
Yeah, I remember that spanking very well. So does everybody that day. To this day, still remember that spanking. Just want everybody to know. Thank you for that. Well, the Gonzales, let me talk to you all. How do you know when someone's in trouble? How do you know when child's in trouble? What is your thoughts?
Well, I can remember back to when our youngest Christian was, I think he would have been in second grade. And we knew that he was high functioning autistic, but his grades had really started slipping. And no matter what we did to talk to him about it, he really had no explanation. And the teacher had no explanation for him either as to, like, he wasn't acting up. Nothing like that was happening. But he was sitting further and further back in the classroom. So they moved him to the front and it got worse. the teacher had to keep on, it was talking to us about what do you think is going on? And I really didn't, at first I didn't have any idea until I took him and I was talking to him at home, and he had to keep on, he was looking all around the room. And I'm like, can you hear properly? Can you actually hear? And he goes, I hear everything. And I said, so you hear everything? And I said, so when you're at school, do you hear everything? And he goes, I hear the teacher, I hear the chalkboard, I hear the students talking around me, I hear the hallway.
Wow.
And I said, okay, so let's devise a plan here about what we can do with you. We got him some earplugs with a little tiny vent in the middle of it. So it was very directional, so that you could hear the teacher and just what she was talking about.
They were
They were a hunting earplug, and we had to buy them, and he had them then at his school. And every time the teacher knew that something was going on, she was going to have to talk directly to him, she would have him put those in. And so everything was the extra noise was being funneled out. And only what was being talked about was going in. And his grades went up immediately. And that's how we knew that, that's how you have to know what's going on with your child, and then obviously we tried to figure it out. It was
another signal that he was doing was chewing off the erasers off the pencils and sticking them in his
that's
ears.
right.
Oh, wow.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So we knew that there was something going on with with what was going, and even I remember his behavior he started acting up with his behavior as well. And that was very unusual. So he was finding out that nothing was going well. People were telling him that he's not doing well at school. What's wrong with you? And it's not that if something was wrong with him, but just we had to identify how to help the problem going on. So that's when we knew he was in trouble. He would stick peas in his ears too. I remember that when he was
Yes.
and we didn't identify it at that point.
He couldn't tell you too.
He couldn't tell you that this was the
told you
problem.
with the peas.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, this is wonderful dimes here for a lot of parents out there. Mrs. Gonzales, you have anything that you want to add to this conversation here?
I do, but not necessarily about the hearing issue. It was Christian was kind of that kid where there was one time I was unloading groceries from the store. He got out of the truck and I thought he was right behind me, and he says, Lori, look. And I'm like, where are you? He goes, up here. And we had an older antenna back in the day attached to the house.
Yes.
He climbed all the way up to the tops. He was a climber. And he also would always defend his brother, no matter what. I remember one day they were playing with the kid next door who was like twice his size, but he was picking on Tony. He just clobbered the boy. He was a littler kid, but he had like anger issues. And so at some point we had to learn what to do with the anger in a positive way. So he took, was it karate? He took karate to try to temper that into a positive way, because he would get bullied. Because he'd come home just angry. And it was because he was getting bullied.
Oh my.
We had to figure out a way to temper that. Yeah.
Wow. You know,
when you look at him as an adult now, he's in his 20s, but he just finished. He's going to be a teacher.
Kindergarten teacher.
Fantastic.
So here's another one too. Because I just love this kid. His first year, I think it kind of goes back to we think that we're doing our best. We wanted him to be so responsible. We wanted to be so successful. And I think we just kind of pushed it down his throat. Like, you should be in neuroscience. You're great in chemistry. Your teacher thinks you are, blah, blah, blah. So he went into neuroscience the first year, and he was just doing horrible. Just doing horrible. But I remember going back to when he was a little kid, and I always told him, do what you love. Just do what you love. And here we're going back on something that we told him growing up. And it took him courage to call his dad like during his midterm of freshman and said, Dad, I have something to tell you. And I don't want you to be upset with me, but I really need to tell you. And he goes, I really don't want to be in neuroscience. I really want to change my major. And I always remember telling him how good he was with little kids. Whenever we were always in a get together with family, he's always holding the 2-year-old, always playing with the 2-year-old, so nurturing. And I'm like, that's your gift. You need to be with little kids. And he decided to tell his dad, I want to be a teacher.
We just weren't. We were thinking what was best
For him.
For
us, for him.
Right. That's it.
Yeah, and then he had to just, he had to identify. We had to identify that we were apparently doing that too, and we did a lot of apologizing for that too.
It was hard to apologize.
Yeah. It was hard because you want him to be, successful, lots of money, but you don't equate that with success.
Right.
Money isn't successful. It just means money.
We experienced that exact same problem with our second child. She had a full load ride to U of M for engineering. But I told her father, she's not an artist. She's not a problem solver. She's just high math. But that she won't make it. And he was upset. I said, no, I don't mean it like you think. Engineers can look at something and they are working it out. I can't tell you how many engineers I have met that I would say to them, just how they look at a problem. You are an engineer, aren't you?
I am.
And they go, how do you know? I said, I see you analyzing that. But her father felt like I was wrong. She bombed out. As a matter of fact, she got kicked out. And she ended up going down to Alabama, where Eric was. And she went to University of Alabama, Huntsville. She is one of the most decorated nurses. Because I told her, you're just so nurturing. You have the high math. She's got a double major, chemistry and biology. She did research. She hated it. I said, you're too much of a people person. Find your way with that gift. And now as a nurse, she is just the happiest that I've seen her since she was a teenager.
And she's thriving.
Yes, because it's something she loves, but the problem we had, and parents don't mean it, but we are problem. We can say my child is so-and-so. Because we see they have the talent to do it, but do they have the love for it? And she just simply didn't, but she didn't know how to tell her father, so she screwed up badly. And he was so mad, and I said, I told you, and I meant no harm. I told you that wouldn't be what she would. The girl, she don't have no desire to solve problems. So how can you be an engineer? And so when she was in her research, she found she was bored. She was unhappy. And I said, go back to when you took the test for the Air Force in college. What is that, ROTC?
Yep.
What did they say were your greatest gifts? Doctor, nurse. I said, there you have it. She went back, she got an LPN, then she got her RN and her BSN. And I have never seen my daughter more content in her life.
That is so true. And you know what, folks, this is like great. And we're gonna have to do this again here. We got to bring you all back here again, because I mean, this is fantastic dimes and nickels for parents out there that people can learn from. But before we leave here, what I would like to do here is I would like to just read this out of your book here. And this is page 27. Get the book. It's The Secret Behind the Secret to Success. Vanessa Thomas is an awesome book here. You all need to get this. It's a great read. And I'm just going to read these two things here. If you let someone else make possible life-altering decisions for you, don't do the blame game. Become proactive and protect yourself from further accidents. Oh, I'm telling you right now, I love that. And for those of you who want to get in contact with Mrs. Thomas, this is her information here. She has a website, Mama Thomas. Please go out there. I mean, she's a fabulous lady. Here's her contact information. Hold on one second. Somebody else wants to say, my wife wants to say something real quick. Go ahead, Slayla, before we get off.
Wasn't this amazing, you all? I just want you to really take advantage of the nuggets that Mama T has for you. I mean, just the small little things that she said today were absolutely amazing. You have a book club coming up. Can you share a little
Yes.
bit about that, please?
Yes, I'm doing a free Zoom call for 4 weeks starting on the 17th of January. All you need to come is to have the book. There's no other cost involved. We'll go over the book, we'll go over life lessons and just really get some in-depth knowledge about myself. And then I'll be asking questions and answering questions for you all at the same time. I would love for you guys to be on. It'll be on a Tuesday, I believe, at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll post something on my website and I'll send some to Suela that she can share with you guys if you're interested.
Awesome. We do not want to miss this opportunity. I love on the bottom of your book, Mama T, where it says, "The promise delayed, not denied." And that is such a wonderful message for all of us, especially starting 2021, that the things that we are going through, the things that you want to achieve, despite what you're going through right now, despite how big the situation may seem, the promise is still for you. It's delayed, it's not denied. So thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, and thank you so much for having me. I love this. I follow Todd and his parents, and I just love the show. And so to be able to be sitting in company with them meant a lot.
Oh.
So thank you for letting me join you.
Well, it's our pleasure having you here. And like I said, it's a great read. Please get her book. Please support folk. Please join the book club there. And like I said, that'll be all for Mom and Dad Talks. Till next time, we're starting the new year off right. Love you guys. God bless.
Thank you. And thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.